Hello everyone and welcome to today's class. This one is called Basic Sequence and it's the first one that we learn in our yoga teacher training, but you don't have to be learning to become a teacher to enjoy this sequence. It's a Vinyasa style, really good full body stretch and strength. It's got the usual suspects, a lot of familiar poses that you would see in a typical yoga class in the West. Let's go ahead and get started in Sukhasana, easy pose. So come on to a seated cross-legged position. And this one is called easy pose, but not necessarily super easy to get into for a lot of folks. If that's you and you feel like you're struggling to stay upright, go ahead and prop yourself up on a folded blanket or a garden mat or even a block. And once you find that it's relatively easy to stay upright with the spine nice and neutral, then hands, palms facing down onto the knees, lifting up tall, wide across the shoulders, but not tense. So lifted, but still relaxed, and closing the eyes. Taking a few moments here to let go of anything you're holding on to that you don't need right now. Any cares or worries, just letting them all float away. You're here in the right place, on time, and this hour is just for you. Begin to listen to the sounds around you. Notice them without reacting. Things will happen around you, and as they do, they begin to fade into the background like white noise. Begin to tune inward. See if you can hear and feel your heart beating. Notice the temperature of the air on your skin. Feel present in this moment, not pining for the future or longing for the past. In our last few moments here, set an intention for this practice. An intention is an awareness of a quality or virtue that you wish to cultivate on or off the mat. Maybe it's inner peace or inner strength. There's so many benefits to yoga, just picking one of them and letting that resonate within you. And now take 3 slow, deep breaths through the nose. Really expansive breaths. See if you can take an extra sip of air at the top of each inhale. And at the bottom of each exhale, squeeze out that last puff of air, making room for fresh new air to enter. Taking all the time you need to complete your 3 deep breaths. And when you do, nice and slow, start to make your way up through hands and knees. Tuck the toes under and make your way up and back to our first downward facing dog. Even taking a few moments here to walk it out if that feels nice for you, alternating one heel, gently lowering down towards the floor as the opposite knee bends, and switching sides. And then send the feet forward all the way to the top of your mat, landing with the feet parallel, and if available, all the way together, heels and toes, and let the head hang, softening through the entire length of the spine, including the neck,
Releasing any tension that might be hiding in there. And just a couple deep breaths here. And slowly, one vertebra at a time. Come on all the way up
to standing. If you feel lightheaded, one palm to the forehead for a moment. And we'll prepare for our Surya Namaskara, sun salutations. We'll begin with classical sun salutations. So standing up at the top of your mat, heels and toes together, arms active along the sides of the body, fingertips reaching towards the ground, shoulders back, lengthening through the neck. Here we go. Inhale, raise the arms way up high. We'll take a moment here. We'll go nice and slow that first one. If your shoulders need a bit more space, feel free to step those arms apart parallel or even slightly wider. Eventually, palms are together, straightening through the arms whenever that's available. Drawing them back a little bit as the lower ribs maintain inward into the belly, belly scooping in. One more inhale to lengthen here. On the exhale, gliding forward nice and smooth to Uttanasana, standing forward bend pose. And once again, let the neck hang. Palms to shins, looking up to the horizon for a flat back. And release. Bending the knees, plant the hands. We'll send the right foot back, way back. Gently lower the knee, untuck the toes, sweep the arms up for Anjaneyasana, low lunge pose. So for this first one, just taking a moment, allow the hips to sink and melt downward. But not too long. We're flowing here. Send the hands down, slightly wider than shoulders width apart. Tuck those back toes under. Belly scoops in to bring the front foot back to Palakasana plank pose. Belly scoops in again. Pelvic floor pulling up, preparing for Ashtanga Pranam, 8-limb salutation. This one's a bit awkward, but super fun. We'll sequentially lower. Knees, chest, chin, keeping the hips high to the sky. So arch through the mid-back. Scoop through to the belly. Point the toes, peel the chest off the floor. This is a baby cobra, so you should be able to no hands this one. Not that we do, but you could if you wanted to. And release. Pressing up and back to downward facing dog. But we're not here long. Step the right foot forward. Back knee lowers down, untuck the toes, sweep the arms up. For Anjaneyasana on the second side, our low lunge pose, allowing those hips to sink and melt downward as the hips and shoulders are facing forward. Planting the hands here, this time back foot steps all the way forward, landing beside the other foot. Inhaling for flat back, and exhale, forward fold. Inhale, long straight spine all the way up. And release back to a tall mountain. Once again, this time the left foot steps back and forward. Here we go. Arms go up on an inhale. Exhale, gliding forward. Inhale for flat back. Exhale, down, left foot steps back. Gently lower the knee, untuck the toes. Inhale, arms sweep up. Exhale, plant the hands. Inhale, front foot steps back. Exhale, knees, chest, chin. Inhale, baby cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, left foot steps forward, back knee lowers, untucking the toes, arms sweep up. Exhale, plant the hands. Inhale, back foot steps all the way forward into flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up, reaching up high. And exhale to a tall mountain. Heading straight away into Sun Salutation A. Inhale, arms go up. Exhale, gliding forward. Inhale for flat back. Exhale, down, heading back through plank, preparing for Chaturanga. For extra challenge, keep those legs straight. Otherwise, you can lower knees first. Belly scoops in as you lower and hover. Release. Inhaling for Cobra or Upward Facing Dog if you prefer, and that's in your practice. And Downward Facing Dog. Holding here for a few deep breaths. You can always lower to Child's Pose if you prefer for a little rest here. Slowing down the breathing. And if you're in Down Dog, feeling that length through the backs of the legs. And send the feet forward all the way to the top. Inhaling for flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up, reaching up high, getting taller. And exhale to a tall mountain, straight away into the next one. As we flow, arms go up. Exhale, forward, fold. Inhale for flat back. Exhale, down, heading back through plank and lowering Chaturanga. Inhale, up, and exhale, downward facing dog. Or Child's Pose for 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Send the feet forward, inhaling for flat back, and exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up, reaching up high, and exhale to a tall mountain. One more. Inhale, arms go up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for flat back. Exhale, down, heading back through plank and lowering Chaturanga. Inhale, up, and exhale, downward facing dog or Child's Pose. Trying to get some of that weight into the roots of the fingers. So forward onto the palms so we don't dump into the wrists. Allowing the heels to lower down towards the floor. Shoulders are away from the ears. It's already 4. And 5. Send the feet forward. Inhaling for flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up, reaching up high. And exhale to a tall mountain. Preparing for Sun Salutation B, we'll start with Uttanasana, powerful pose. Feet are together, bend the knees, sweep the arms. Sitting back into that invisible chair. On the exhale, gliding forward. Inhale
for flat back. Exhale, down, heading back through plank and lowering Chaturanga. Inhale, up, and exhale, downward facing dog. Right foot steps forward behind the right wrist, back heel spins down like you're moving in one foul swoop all the way up to warrior one. And heading down through lunge, plank, lower. Inhale, up, exhale, downward dog. Left foot steps forward, back heel spins down, warrior one, down through lunge, plank, lower. Inhale, up, exhale, downward facing dog, or this is a great time for a child's pose if you prefer. 5 deep breaths. For 1. Remembering all those alignment points, so shoulders away from the ears. Bringing some of the weight forward into the palms, especially inward towards the index fingers. The hands push the body away from them. That's 4. And 5. Send the feet forward. Inhaling for flat back. And exhale, forward fold. Heels and toes together, bend the knees. Sweep the arms for Uttanasana. And standing tall. Flowing right into the next one, bending deeply, sweeping the arms. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for flat back. Exhale, down, heading back through plank and lowering Chaturanga. Inhale, up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right foot steps forward, back heel spins down. This is all happening at once, coming up to warrior one. Heading down through lunge, this as well. Through plank, moving nice and smooth, lowering Chaturanga. Inhale, up. Exhale, downward dog. Left foot steps forward, back heel spins down, warrior one. Down through lunge, plank, lower. Inhale, up. Exhale, downward dog or child's pose, slowing it down. That's already 4. And 5. Send the feet forward. Inhaling for flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Heels and toes together, bend the knees, sweeping the arms, Uttanasana. And standing tall for mountain. One last one. Bending the knees, sweeping the arms. Powerful pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for flat back. Exhale, down, heading back through plank and lowering Chaturanga. Inhale, up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Right foot steps forward, back heel spins out as smoothly as possible. Come on all the way up. As smoothly as possible, heading down, plank, lower. Inhale, up. Exhale, downward dog. Left foot forward, back heel down all the way. Up. Lunge, plank, lower. Inhale, up. Exhale, downward dog or child's pose. Slowing it down. Shoulders away from the ears. Some weight into the roots of the index fingers, so forward onto the palms. And allow the heels to lower downward. And send the feet forward. Inhaling for flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Heels and toes together. Bend the knees, sweeping the arms for Uttanasana, powerful pose. And standing tall. We'll carry on into our Vinyasa section. This is where I like to just procrastinate just for a second, just adjust the wardrobe. We're, of course, trying to not do that, but a little bit of a hike of the pants never hurt anyone. Here we go. Inhale, arms go up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for flat back. Exhale, down, heading back through plank and lowering Chaturanga. Inhale, up. Exhale, downward facing dog. From here, step the right foot forward behind the right wrist. Back heel stays up high to the sky. We're preparing for Ashtachandrasana, Crescent Pose. Front knee right over the ankle. Back leg is strong. Heel is up. We sweep the arms up. Very similar to our Warrior One, but both legs are parallel. Bending deeply into that front leg, keeping the front knee over the ankle. Trying to use our right glute. If you're not feeling it, try lifting up the front toes just to activate it. Back leg is straight and strong. Hips and shoulders facing forward. Remember, you still got your options for arms. From here, preparing for Virabhadrasana 3, Warrior 3. We'll transfer the weight forward onto the front leg with very little weight onto the back leg. You have lots of options for arms. I like to bring them to heart center. Extra challenge would be to keep them forward. You can also bring them onto the sides in airplane mode. Either way, shoulders are back. Only because the back leg lifts up does the torso move forward. And eventually, the torso and the leg will be parallel to the earth, but only while the supporting leg is straight. Holding onto that balance, fighting for it. To come out, inhale to lengthen. Exhale, nice soft gooey landing back to crescent. Here we have some options. We can vinyasa, or to make it a little bit easier on yourself, heading down through lunge and then either straight to downward dog or child's pose, only if you're looking for extra challenge. Heading back through plank, lowering Chaturanga, inhaling up, and exhale, downward facing dog. Preparing for the second side. So this time left foot steps behind the left wrist, back heel stays up high to the sky. With the front knee right over the ankle, sweep the arms up. Same things again. If you're not feeling that front glute, try lifting up the toes. Press down into the heel just to get that glute working. Belly is scooping in, hips and shoulders facing forward. Back leg is straight and strong. Here we go, preparing for Virabhadrasana 3, warrior 3. First, transfer the weight forward. And then back leg lifts up. Supporting leg stays completely straight. You don't have to bend forward that far. Only as much as you're able. Fighting for that balance. Breathing deep. To come out, inhale to lengthen. Exhale, soft, gooey landing back to crescent. Heading down through lunge. Remember your options. So maybe stepping it right back to a child's pose or a downward facing dog. Only for extra challenge. Back through plank. Lowering Chaturanga. Inhaling up. And exhale. Downward facing dog. Just taking a couple deep breaths here. From here, send the feet all the way forward to the top of your mat. Inhaling for flat back. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, come on all the way up, reaching up high. And exhale to a tall mountain. And again, inhale, arms go up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for flat back. Exhale, down, heading back through plank and lowering Chaturanga. Inhale, up. Exhale, downward facing dog. From here, we'll head into warrior 1, Virabhadrasana 1. Right foot steps forward behind the right wrist, back heel spins down to the ground. Come on up. We're here for a few moments. Really trying to get a nice deep warrior 1, as deep as is available for us. So if this is too long of a stance for you, feel free to shorten that up a bit. Or if it's a struggle to keep the hips square, step the front foot out to the side of your mat a little bit, kind of like I have. I've got my foot out to the side, giving my hips more room. Eventually, the front knee is right over the ankle. And eventually, the stance is quite long, but if that's not today, that's a-okay. We've already been there for about 4 deep breaths. Same choices for arms as well. From here, we'll open up to Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2. Hips and shoulders rotate to face the long edge of your mat. You might need to heel toe a little bit. This one's a heel to arch alignment. So if I were to run an imaginary line between my heel to the arch, we would have a nice little intersection there. So to check my alignment, I can actually look. Shoulders, hips, arms. I want to make sure that my sternum is right above the pelvis too, central axis of the body, completely perpendicular. There's a tendency to lean forward and also to lean back. But like I say, even if you don't have mirrors, it's better not to have mirrors when you're practicing yoga. Just look. Oh wow, my hips are not square. Hips face long edge, and then the spine straight neutral, perpendicular to the earth. Then we bend. Looking beyond the front fingertips. Breathing free. That's already 4. And 5. From here, preparing for Utthita Parshvakonasana, extended side angle pose. So our first variation is the right elbow to the right thigh. And then the left arm, we've got some options. Eventually, it's alongside the left ear. And we've got a straight line right from the fingertips to my back foot. So we're trying not to have the hips up, but in one straight line. Front knee right over the ankle. If that's too much on the top shoulder, I can always have it behind my back. Option 2, the full variation, is to place the bottom hand on the floor or perhaps a block on the outside of that front foot. So do not let that knee tip in. Pressing that knee out, out, out. And the heart is spinning towards the sky. That's already 4 and 5. Come on up, back through warrior 2. Preparing now for Utthita Trikonasana, triangle pose. My stance is too long, so I'll need to step my stance inward a bit, a couple of little heel toes. This one is still heel to arch, but it's not as long as warrior 2 or extended side angle. Hips and shoulders are still facing the long edge of the mat, rotating right from the top of the upper thigh bone here on that front leg. Arms in a T position. Back toes are just a little bit facing forward, just a teensy bit pigeon-toed. Then reaching, like you're trying to reach for something along a shelf, but your legs are stuck in mud. Legs are straight. Reaching, reaching, reaching. When I can reach no more, I place the palm. You want some weight into that supporting leg, just not pressing into the knee joint. But a little bit of weight from the palm into the leg will protect your low back. Speaking of protecting your low back, your belly is scooping in. Same options for arms. If this is no good on the shoulder, you can keep it behind your back. Eventually, that bottom arm will be pressing down into the floor on the outside of the front foot. And the head eventually will look up to the top thumb. Breathing deep. You can also take a peek down at your supporting leg. If your nose isn't directly above the leg, it can sometimes go out. Pull it back in line. It might mean you need to come up a little bit, and that's totally okay. Breathing deep here. To come out, traditionally keep legs straight, both of them. If that's too challenging, come back into warrior 2, bending the front knee. Belly scoops in. On an inhale, we come on all the way up, remembering your options. And then we'll head down through lunge. Back heel spins up. Remembering your options here, heading either into child's pose or downward facing dog, or only if you're looking for extra challenge, stepping it back to plank. Lowering, Chaturanga. Inhaling, up, and exhale. Downward facing dog. Preparing for the second side. All of those poses, starting with warrior 1. Left foot steps forward, back heel spins down. Come on up. So we'll take those same alignment checks again. Front knee over the ankle. If it's challenging to keep the hips square to the front, step the front foot out to the side so you're wider stance between the feet. And if it's too long of a stance, you can shorten it up that way as well. Belly scoops in. There's a tendency to sway the back a lot. Try to minimize that sway by scooping the belly and tucking the tailbone under even a little bit. Breathing deep. That's 3. You can even double check that we're not slumping back, but rather lengthening through the waist. For 4. And 5. Opening up to Virabhadrasana 2, warrior 2. So same thing again. You maybe need to widen the stance a little bit. This one's a heel to arch alignment as well. So that front heel will intersect the back arch. Arms are up in a T position. Double check, back arms right behind you, front arms right in front of you. Shoulders are down, scooping the tailbone under, and even double check that your spine is completely perpendicular to the earth. Breathing deep. Looking beyond the front fingertips. And once again, preparing for Utthita Konasana, extended side angle. Our first variation, the easier variation, is with the front elbow on the knee. Arm is up. Or if you're going for the full variation, that bottom arm is on a block or the floor. And spinning the heart open to the sky. For 2. 3, 4, and 5. Belly scoops in to come on all the way back through Warrior 2. Then we prepare for Utthita Trikonasana triangle pose. The stance is a bit too long in this position, so shortening it up a little bit. Both legs remain poker straight, Iyengar says. So legs are straight and strong, arms in a T position. First, we reach like we're reaching along a shelf until you can reach no further. And then we tip, 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 placing some weight into that supporting palm. Breathing deep. Alignment checks, that top thumb is right above the mouth. Whether or not we're looking at it eventually, we're looking right up to that top arm. If that's a bit too much on the neck though, feel free to look down or even neutral. It's already 4. And 5. Remembering your options to come out. Extra challenge, straight legs, belly scoops in. Otherwise, you can come up with that bent knee or the front knee bent. Heading down through lunge. Remembering your options here. Either heading straight back into child's pose or downward dog, or for extra challenge, back through plank. Lowering chaturanga. Inhaling up. And exhaling, downward facing dog. From here, we'll prepare for pigeon. Right knee moves forward and gently lower your right knee down onto the mat behind the right wrist. The right foot is well behind the left wrist. Then the back knee gently lowers and we send our back leg back as far as it'll go. You may want to support the right hip on a block. Taking a couple moments in proud pigeon, sitting up nice and tall. When you're ready, heading into sleeping pigeon. So just lowering down as much as is accessible for you. This pose is known as pigeon, and the Sanskrit name for it is Ekapada Rajakapotasana, which is kind of funny. In fact, when you're learning in your teacher training, if you take teacher training, Ekapada Rajakapotasana, it's the one you have to repeat the most of all of the poses that we learn because it's the most challenging to say. But once you know how to say Ekapada Rajakapotasana, a funny thing happens. Suddenly you can't stop hearing that, all those syllables in your head over and over and over again, like a super fun earworm. Last deep breath here. And from here, we'll head all the way up and back to downward facing dog. If you are looking for an extra challenge, you could add a little vinyasa in there. If you're feeling like you're not warm, feel free. Otherwise, we step it right back to downward dog and take a moment to walk it out. And we'll prepare for the other side. So this time, left knee moves forward, lowering onto your mat behind the left wrist. The hand is, or the foot is behind the right hand, well behind it. Gently lower the back knee down, send the back leg back as far as it'll go. Sitting up in proud pigeon for a while. There's a tendency, a lot of people like to bring that front foot forward, but that's not actually the pose. That's kind of something different altogether. So the goal for this one eventually is sitting hips on the floor, not the foot forward. When you're ready, lowering into sleeping pigeon. And slowly, slowly, coming all the way back to downward facing dog. Or once again, if you're looking for that extra challenge, feel free to take a vinyasa. Otherwise, heading back to downward dog and walking it out a little bit. From here, belly scoops in, gently lowering through hands and knees, and all the way to seated with the feet forward in Dandasana staff pose. Sitting up nice and tall, we'll prepare for Badapanas, bound angle pose. So bring the soles of the feet together, drawing them in towards the body. Allow the knees to fall out to the sides. If you'd like to support your knees on a block, feel free to do so, or a pillow or cushion. Otherwise, lifting up nice and tall on an inhale. If you're feeling like it's a struggle to stay upright, propping up the hips on a folded blanket or a garden mat. Otherwise, we inhale to lengthen, exhale, forward fold. Maybe you forward fold a little bit, maybe it's a lot of it. Either way, keeping the spine fairly long in this one. So it's almost like you're trying to reach the heart forward, forward, forward. And even closing the eyes for this one. Softening and melting. We'll hold just a little bit longer than our 5 deep breaths. Not too long, but enough to get a nice stretch in, breathing deep. And slowly, slowly start to come all the way up. Belly scoops in as we lengthen and return the feet forward to Dandasana staff pose. From here, we'll prepare for Upavishtakonasana, or wide-legged seated forward fold. So we'll turn sideways on our mats and situate yourself on your mat. Some people like to have their hips on the mat, where others like to have their heels on the mat. So especially if you have a home practice, take a moment, get yourself set up. This one is actually not so much going into the splits. So if you are very flexible, your hips are barely on the mat, as are your feet. It's a wide V, but not too wide. That's a different pose altogether. So lifting up tall in a bit of a wide V. On an inhale, lengthen. On the exhale, the hands can either walk forward or eventually walking on the outsides of the legs, and we'll clasp the outsides of the feet. One day, if that's not today, that is okay. Breathing deep. Eventually, the chest and chin are on the floor, and otherwise, just hold. So it doesn't matter where we're at, just looking for that hold, maybe even closing the eyes. And slowly, slowly, come on all the way up. And from here, we'll bring the feet together in Dandasana staff pose once again. And I like to turn to face the back of my mat at this point in my practice. You can turn whatever way you want to. It's your home practice. We'll prepare for Supta Parivartanasana, which is a revolved, reclined, twisting pose. Laying all the way back onto your backs. Bend the right knee in and hug it in towards your chest as the left leg remains extended onto the floor. From here, extend your right arm out to the side in a T position, palm facing down. I like to bend my left leg, place the foot on the floor to help me shift the hips to the right as my knee moves towards the left. And then I'll extend my left leg on the floor again. Really important to keep the right shoulder on the floor. Otherwise, we're not twisting in the thoracic spine. It turns into more of a lower back twist, which we would like to avoid. Just a little bit of an alignment check here. If you are feeling a bit of a twist in that low back, but your shoulder is securely on the floor, one thing that might be happening is that top knee isn't bent quite enough. So try bending it up towards the left shoulder a little bit more. And if it doesn't reach the floor, you can place the knee onto a block if you like. And eventually we'll look over to the right fingertips. And to come out, scoop the belly in, press the low back into the floor, and we'll shift back to square everything up. And between sides, hug the knees into your chest and gently rock from side to side. And then preparing for the other side. Keep the left knee hugged in, extend the right leg down to the ground. This time left arm is out, extended in a T position, palm facing down. I like to bend my supporting leg and help the hips shift to the left as the knee shifts to the right. And then I'll extend my leg back down again. Keep the left shoulder pinned down to the ground. And I'll also be guiding my bent knee up towards my shoulder as I look over to the left. Breathing deep. And to come out, scoop the belly in, press the low back into the floor, and take a moment to square everything up, hugging the knees into your chest, and gently rocking side to side, Apanasana. And then preparing for Setu Bandha Sarvangasana, bridge pose. We'll release the knees, feet are on the floor just slightly wider than hips width apart and parallel. From here, arms along your sides, palms facing down, and looking up to the ceiling. At this point and on, the neck doesn't move. Press the hips up high to the sky as the knees are ever so slightly pressing in towards each other in order to keep the legs parallel. There's a tendency for them to want to splay outward, but if we feel like there's an imaginary block between the knees that we're gently trying to press in towards, that'll keep everything nice and square. Pressing the hips high to the sky. If you'd like to go further, feel free to interlace the fingers beneath you and then carefully tuck the shoulders beneath you, remembering to keep the neck completely neutral. Hips press high to the sky, still thinking about that invisible block between the knees. Breathing deep. The feet remain fully on the floor in this one. If you're lucky, you might feel a nice stretch through the front of the legs. This is also a really great back body strengthener. And on top of all of that, it's a heart-healthy pose as the blood flows towards the heart in this one. This one's Setu Bandha Sarvangasana, bridge pose. And to come out, if you've got that bind of the hands, gently release, nice and carefully untucking the shoulders, and nice and slow. Lower the hips down to the floor. When you feel ready, hug the knees into your chest. for an Apanasana, maybe even rocking side to side. From here, we'll prepare for Anandavalasana, happy baby pose. Clasping onto the outer edges of the feet, if you can't reach, clasping onto the shins. And then, with the soles of the feet facing directly to the ceiling, draw the knees down towards the floor, trying to keep the tailbone on the floor. In other words, it likes to tuck upward, trying to keep the spine as neutral as possible. This is a fairly decent hip stretch. Breathing deep. We're just here for 5. It's already 4. And 5. Releasing this pose. One last time, hugging both knees in for Apanasana. Knees to chest pose. And from here, we'll release straight into Shavasana. So if your back needs a little extra support today, feel free to keep the knees bent with the feet on the floor. And you can allow the knees to tip in towards each other if you step the feet apart. Otherwise, if everything's feeling okay, extend the legs onto the floor, arms along your sides, palms facing up, and closing the eyes. Taking a few moments to get settled. While we're here, start to listen to the sounds around you. See if you can notice them without reacting. We often think of noises as distraction. See if we can instead start to hear those sounds and allow them to fade into the background like white noise. Relaxing everything, everything, everything. Relaxing the toes, the ankles, the knees, softening through the hips, and all the way down the legs. Soften through the belly and the full length of the back. Feeling heavy into the floor. Release through the neck and the shoulders and all the way down the arms. Letting the fingers softly curl. Softening through the face. Softening around the eyes. And even the muscle between the eyes. Just letting it all float away. And starting to come back. Wiggle the fingers and the toes. And gently roll your head from side to side. And reach your arms above head on the floor, giving yourself a big stretch, like you're waking up first thing in the morning, feeling totally refreshed. And bend the knees one at a time. And gently roll over to your right side, pausing there for just a moment as you come back. And slowly start to press yourself all the way up to a comfortable seated position. Taking all the time you need. When you arrive, palms facing up on the knees. Inhale, sitting up tall. And exhale, softly close the eyes. Just taking those final moments to thank yourself for showing up to your practice today and taking care of you. And just an additional extra little thought for someone else today who might need that extra moment. And slowly open the eyes. Namaste, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Have a really good rest of your day.